Quite a few of them are people who, not the greatest living situations in the world that are getting the word out there. The word is out there on the streets with the unhoused. The word is out there on the streets with people that are just local residents, that there is light at the tunnel. You can go to Chrysalis, you can go to this program, you can sign up to work, do an orientation, and these people are going to put you to work. And I feel great because I see people whose quality of life is just, you know, shooting up off the roof. Their attitudes are better. They feel greater about themselves because they're now in a position in an area where they know, you know, to work and make money to try and, you know, so that's one thing that I'm proud of here, you know, in the Venice area. Besides that, you know, we try to pick up, you know, everything that's out there. We shop in carts, we try and get them back to where they belong, you know, and it's trash. And what I encourage is for everybody in here and to also disseminate, if it is in the boundaries of the bid, you do not have to be a property owner, a board member, or a business owner to call in something that's in the bid if it's clean or if it's safe team related. Anybody from anywhere in the country or the world can spot something and approach one of our team members or put in a call or go on the website, and we will come and try and address the issue. And it's getting close to summertime again. I think I'm starting to learn the pattern, you know, the ebb and flow of what goes on here in Venice, and I'm able to now plan and direct and disseminate that information to my team. It's more than just a job. I feel privileged to have gotten this job. I love it here in Venice. I like everybody I meet. And that's, once again, I just want to end up by saying anything that I can do when it comes to cleaning up something, you know, and making it look better, please. It absolutely does not hurt to ask. Just bring it on. I'm going to figure out a way to deal with it.
You look like Mr. Clean, too. I just thought about that.
I'd like to make a quick comment real quick. A lot of bids operated by Chrysalis would love to have Paul at their bid.
Yeah, that's right.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
I would say there is no better ambassador, and I'm a huge, huge fan of Chrysalis. So anything I say in criticism is absolutely not personal. You are the bomb. I do want to ask about the difference between murals and graffiti and permitted and unpermitted. And in particular, I would say Mr. Sokol's hotel has panels of graffiti as decoration.
I'm glad you like it, Margaret. Thank you.
And so it's kind of interesting, you know, it's a kind of interesting dichotomy. But I would say there's about 10 major property owners who really threw the vote on the bid by a weighted vote. And one of them is Sutter. So the Sutter property has a lot of muraling, but it has an awful lot of gang tagging. And why is that not removed? And it's in the alcove of the Sutter property, but you know, gang tags are what they are. So I would say the president of the Venice Chamber of Commerce is also the vice president of the Venice Neighborhood Council. He's affiliated with the 1414 Main properties. There's a lot of graffiti as well as muraling on those buildings. I don't think the muraling is permitted, and I'm curious why certain properties don't seem to have the same kind of removal mandate as others. So that's my question.
There's a couple elements to that. So the first one, in terms of permitted versus not permitted murals, I'm not an expert on this, but in general, the city policy on those changed several years ago. Most murals are deemed generally permitted today. In other words, they rescinded an ordinance that had banned mural development. So unfortunately, I don't think, unless it was done without the permission of the property owner, I don't think there is enforcement against non-permitted murals today. That's my best understanding. I may not be perfect in that understanding. in terms of how we tackle graffiti and murals, that's something we actually discussed at length before the bid launched, and we've had discussions about it since. Venice is a community that has a tremendous amount of public art, intentional public art. And one of our concerns from the get-go was the ability of any of us individually, and particularly our workers out in the field, to tell the difference between what is unpermitted tagging, let's use the word tag, just to draw a clear line, I'm gonna say tagging versus art, which might include graffiti art. That's an aesthetic judgment, it's a determination. Fundamentally, it requires generally some research or contact to talk to a property owner, et cetera, et cetera. So we have taken a very conservative approach on that. The most basic of tagging, the scrawl of letters, we can safely assume that, and I'm not talking about the elaborate art letters, but like just the somebody's writing. We know clearly those are tags. Those generally we will remove. Pretty much anything beyond that, we try to make contact either first through the tenant or the property owner. We try to ascertain if that is permitted and desired or whether they would like to have that removed. The other reason we also do that is Venice has a lot of buildings that are painted fairly unique colors. We don't have all those. We have a set of about 7 or 8 colors that we keep in stock. The majority of those come from the city and match sort of city colors. So like park bench green, we have lamppost gray, whale gray, palomino beige, et cetera. But there are a lot of unique colors on buildings that we cannot match. And so our goal is also always to try and contact the property owner or the tenant and say, if you'd like to furnish us with your paint, we can match it up, we can paint it to match out. We also give them the option of, well, we can paint it out with the closest color we have for now, and then we can come back when you can give us the paint to match it. So our goal is just to get the graffiti out as quickly as possible, but we want to do so such that we do not remove something that was intentional and that was desired to be there. I believe to date, I think this approach has worked. Our clean team, I have seen 0 complaints that we've removed something that was desired. So yes, we've taken a conservative approach on that for that exact reason. And I apologize, I think there may have been one other element to your question.
So I'm particularly talking about the alcove on the 811, 815 building. There's, not on the front face, but on the side wall, there's a lot.
To the Sutter property,
yes.
I will personally reach out to them and ascertain what they want on the building and what they don't, and I'll try to get an answer from them on that. I think I do have a contact for the property.
Thank you.
So, and anything that they don't want on there that is not permitted by the owner, yes, we can certainly go and paint out.
And if it's in public vision and they let us paint it out and they let us use especially the colors that we got, it's gonna get 24, 48-hour attention if something new pops up on it.
And Paul has been very proactive just in the field, like go into the tenant and say, hey, who would I talk to about this, et cetera. My guess is in that instance, because the property is vacant, that might be one of the reasons it hasn't been taken care of, but I can reach out to a representative of the property.
The city gives me a lot of paint for free. They got to pay for theirs. I'm going to win.
And then we do buy some additional paint.
Paul, how often is the team finding needles? That's a big concern of mine, and it's
Daily.
real serious.
Daily.
It's serious public.
It's really
safety.
bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a public park, and it's very dangerous.
They're doing it right. I was at the public restrooms and with his little thing and right there. You know, it's, you know.
We're gonna have to take a look at that more. I didn't know it was that serious of a problem. Okay.
And on Brooks and Speedway.
We started tracking those, I think, late last year. Brooks and Speedway.
Can I make a couple of points too while we're on this? In relation to the steam cleaning that's going on out there, I came down here when violence was the greatest threat. Today it's bacteria. Everybody's affected. Nobody knows who's going into a home with this potential contagion on their shoes or whatever. The people on the street are more affected than anyone else by that. They're more at risk. There's a guy that I met coming in here 100 feet down with no legs, sitting on the sidewalk, covered in staph breakouts in his arms. I told them about the family clinic. Can you get there? Yeah, I can throw my stuff in the wheelchair, I'll go down there. That's common out there. We're living amongst that as though it's normal, and it is not. And the people most susceptible to both the violence and the bacteria are the people on the street. I'm finding that most of them are appreciative of the opportunity to have that space cleaned because they're not in control of the other people amongst them who are pissing and shitting and using needles. And some of the guys are trying to keep the drug addicts away because they recognize the threat to themselves. And this goes on at night largely when we're not around. Secondly, the bid has made it, I've watched the difference in the conversation of the people on the street be much more receptive now because they've seen that somebody's out there willing to recognize them and work in their favor rather than just simply butt up against them and try to push them around and ignore and deny their existence. And that hasn't worked. That's been the city's tactic, basically, neglect and ignorance, and somehow it'll get better. People have gotten worse, including the drug addicts. They're openly using because nobody says a word. And they think it's freedom, but it's actually condemning them to the same harsh realities that we're watching happen.
What about LAPD? Isn't that an LAPD issue?
Apparently the laws don't apply in Venice. That's my experience. It's just sort of selected down here, and the people, my experience is the people that are most affected by the law are the residents who can pay the fines. Otherwise, it's just, you know, they can drive right past something, and I don't understand it, but it's been consistent, and I've watched it. It isn't absolute, and it isn't always consistent. There are a group of guys down here now that are trying to do their best to start to be proactive, but it hasn't been proactive as long as I've been down here for the most part. It's been reactive to the loudest voices and the biggest complaints. I'm not pointing a finger at the LAPD, but it's been an attitude that started with Venice being an abandoned community taken on as a foster child, and they've been getting the check but haven't been given the responsibility to the kids. So the citizens down here have really suffered.
But there's also